Hello everybody and welcome back to Innocent Life. Today we're going to be focusing on the story. We're basically going to be continuing on where we left off in the last video. After we got our maintenance yesterday, we had heard a story from Dr. Hope about a mishap that had happened in the cave in Volcano Town involving Marco and his super coolant. It's now leaking a non-toxic but very disruptive and smelly gas in and around town, and we sort of are tasked with taking care of it. I guess probably because we are doing the old method of farming first and foremost, but also because we're a robot and I would imagine smells and things like that wouldn't bother us like it would the average person. I think I went into the cave last video, but our main focus, just as a bit of a recap here, is to get this square of land ready for us to plant some herbs that are going to kind of soak up the smell and clear the cave up. After maintenance yesterday, we had spoken to Galleon, Million's father. If you didn't have the opportunity to speak with him yesterday, I would definitely come to Volcano Town early in the morning. He always hangs out right around the mayor's house before the afternoon bell rings at 10 a.m. You can always find him here, and he'll tell you more about the accident, and he'll just let you know that you can go to the supermarket to buy earth power sand and herb seeds. So I've come to town obviously early this morning. We'd have to wait until 10 a.m. for the supermarket to open, but we are going to be going in there, and we're going to be doing a bit of back and forth today from town and then to the Easter ruins, going back and forth a little bit, which should eat up some time and sort of fill up our day. Once the supermarket opens, you can come in, and if you're looking for the earth power sand, it's gonna now be in stock right next to where the tubals are. And if you take a look at it, it costs $2,000 a piece, but for one piece of earth power sand, you get 9 squares worth. We have to fertilize 25 squares of land, so you'll need 3 in total to be able to get that land all sorted out. Now, because the earth power sand is quite expensive, be warned that you will need quite a bit of cash in order to pay for this. At this point in the game, though, I feel that most people will probably have no problems whatsoever coming up with the $6,000 that the earth power sand costs. We had also gotten some earth power sand from one of the chests in a mine earlier on in the game. I used all of mine on the farm, but if you had saved that or hadn't used it, you might still have some at the farm and you wouldn't have to spend as much money on the sand, which is also a possibility. And it is nice that that sand is in stock now, because we can use that on our farm on a regular basis to clear up some of our own soil that's not such good quality. So coming back to the ruins, obviously because our earth power sand was sent to our item box, but also because the herb seeds are not available to purchase at the supermarket. They're only available to purchase at the vending machines, which the game doesn't tell you. Earlier on in the season, when we were buying our seeds, we had noticed that there were 2 empty spots in 2 of the vending machines, and you should now be able to examine all of the machines, and you'll notice that you have an option to buy rosemary seeds, and you have the option to also purchase lavender seeds as well. So they're $36 a seed. Relatively cheap, but I would recommend sticking with rosemary because it grows quicker than lavender. You will need to purchase a minimum of 25 seeds, And the catch is, for some reason, although you can grow rosemary and lavender in spring and into the fall season, you're not able to buy them in the fall season. You can only buy them in summer. So I cannot stress enough how incredibly important it is to buy a minimum of 25 seeds in order to clear up the gas in the cave, but to also purchase some extra seeds. I'm gonna go a little bit overboard here because I have more money than I know what to do with. I'm gonna buy 25 of each. And if I don't end up using them, then that's okay. They can sit in my storage and I can always save them for next year just as something else to grow. But obviously you want to buy extras because if something happens to your crops, if you forget to water them or something like that, and you don't have any extras, then you're not going to be able to complete the task of clearing up the cave, and you're going to have to wait an entire year to do that goal, and you only have 2 years to save the island, so it really isn't a mistake that you can afford to make. And I think it's a very easy mistake to make as well, because our maintenance day was yesterday on the 28th day of summer. That is the absolute earliest date that you can buy those seeds, and summer ends on the 35th day. So really, you only have about a week time frame to find all this information out and to buy those seeds before they're not available for another year. And the other thing that I found out, and this is very bizarre, I don't know why this is, but apparently if you have a storm, these seeds and the crops can be destroyed even though they're going to be growing inside of a cave. I haven't tested that out personally, but just from what I have been reading and the kind of research I did when I looked into it, that is also why it's really important to buy some extras, is because it is a complete 100% possibility that your stuff can be wiped out in a storm as well. So that's my kind of two-bit about that. I'm just picking up everything that I need right now. I picked up the sand. I'm also going to be picking up some strange moss. This will make it so I don't have to go to town to water as often. And I've also picked up my seeds. I would find it very frustrating, and I would feel very badly for anybody who was maybe a little bit behind in the story, or they were trying to figure it out on their own and weren't, reading a guide, and they had found out about buying those seeds or couldn't find them at Million's store and couldn't figure out what was going on until it was too late and had to wait until next year. I feel like that would make for an incredibly slow year in this game, not having any other story goals in the meantime. So here we are back in Volcano Town. While you're in here, time stops, which is really, really nice. We can get all this set up and we'll still have some day ahead of us. So we're going to start, of course, by pouring the earth power sand onto the land. Luckily for us, it only takes 1 earth power sand per square. There are some Harvest Moon games where you'll buy fertilizer. Seriously? Huh. Apparently I didn't pick up all of my fertilizer. That's a pain. I was gonna say there are some Harvest Moon games where you'll buy fertilizer and you'll put it on land, but it only increases the soil a little bit, and you have to use multiple fertilizers in order to get really high quality soil. That's not the case with this game. Fortunately, one piece kind of fixes all. Sometimes I forget that about this game as well, is when you go to pick up an item, you go to take out an item out of the item box, it only lets you do each item individually. You know, I had selected the earth power sand, expecting them to just pick up all 3 of them. But in fact, that's not what happened at all. It only picked up the one, and I guess because I was trying to get everything together, I just wasn't paying attention. I have to say that even though I've gotten used to this game's controls, and it's certainly not the worst controls or the worst system in the entire world, there are a few things that I definitely would change about it, that being one of them, because I feel like that is a very, very honest mistake to make, especially in the world of convenience where that's kind of just expected. And some of the button mapping is really strange. You primarily use a couple of buttons, but they aren't consistent, which sometimes can trip me up a little bit, but I have been playing the game pretty consistently. I haven't taken a really, really long break from it to the point where I've kind of forgotten the controls. Because that's always the worst thing. You start playing a game, you get busy, and you don't have the time to go back to it, and then when you do go back to it, it's been such a long time that you forget where you were, and you forget the controls, and, you know, all that stuff. Anyways, now we are back. We're gonna do it right this time. We have the other 2 pieces of earth sand. So we will clear up this land, we will till it, put our strange moss on it, plant the herbs, and then we will wait and see. I chose the rosemary over the lavender because rosemary only takes 7 days to mature fully, whereas lavender takes 9 days. And the rosemary is relatively good in storms. It says it's slightly fragile, but I think, from what I remember, the lavender is actually more fragile as well. So the rosemary overall is just kind of a good choice. I haven't gotten to the point yet to see if you're able to ship the herbs after you're done with them or anything like that, to see if the lavender or the rosemary is worth more. But at this point, I'm not really concerned about money because I just have more money than I know what to do with. It kind of reminds me of A Wonderful Life in that regard, where you spend a really long time trying to get money, and then once you have money, you just have so much money that you really don't know what to do with it, and it just keeps stockpiling and stockpiling and stockpiling, and then you're rich, and there's just nothing left in the game to spend money on. Now, mind you, we are still having a lot of things to do as time goes on. We are going to be getting into fall soon, and we still have winter to go as well. So I'm sure that we will find some other things to spend money on in the future. But at this point, I think I went a little bit overboard with planting crops and whatnot, and I probably have more money than most people would at this point. To my knowledge, you have to plant all 25 squares at some point or another. I kind of just went on the safe side of things, and I decided to plant and grow everything at the exact same time so that I know I have all 25 in total and I can keep track of its growth. But it might be the case where you grow half at one point and then you're able to grow another half at another point and it still works out. Again, that's another thing that I haven't really tested. I went ahead and I did all this stuff already on another file, and I've played pretty far ahead, almost to the point where we can harvest this and we can see how it ends. So once I get to that point, obviously I will have more information. But all I really have right now is what I've said in this video and what I've done so far. for the next couple of days, we're just going to have to keep an eye on this and keep it watered and watch out for any potential storms or anything like that. The strange moss really comes in handy at this location because you may or may not have the time to make the trip to Volcano Town every single day, depending on what your schedule is like, depending on what you're doing in this game. It is not incredibly time consuming, but in hindsight, if you are doing this every day for 7 days, it is quite a time sink. If you have the watering can that I've got, you can hold up to 100 squares of water, which is really nice. You'll be able to carry around a lot of water before you run out, but make sure to remember to fill your watering can, because there isn't anywhere to fill it in Volcano Town. The only place that you can fill up your watering can is at your farm. So if you are going on that particular day to water, I would recommend watering it and then returning back to your farm immediately and filling it back up, just to be on the safe side, in case you forget, so that you don't, waste a trip or whatever because you've forgotten to fill up your watering can. I guess that's about all I have to say. Hopefully that was a thorough enough explanation and everybody kind of understands what is going on. Like I said, I've already played ahead until our last day of summer, so I'll probably just fast forward to that point and we'll see what's coming up for us as we get into the fall season. All those herbs should be ready relatively soon in the future that I've played, and then I'm really looking forward to seeing what fall has in store for us. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll see you guys closer to when we get into our next season. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I'll see you next time.